"I told you to stay off my land," I yelled as the white SUV rolled past the old wooden sign that clearly said private property. The SUV screeched to a stop near the dock I'd rebuilt just last week. A woman in a wide sun hat stepped out, her sunglasses sliding down as she glared at me. "You can't block the community access," she snapped. "This lake is managed by our HOA." I froze for a second, then laughed under my breath. Community access? Lady, I bought this whole lake. Deeds, survey, everything. There is no HOA here. Her lips curled. "That's cute. We'll see what the board says." Behind her, two men in polo shirts started hammering a shiny metal sign into the ground. "HOA rules apply. No fishing without a permit." I dropped my bucket of tools and marched toward them. "Take that sign down before I call the sheriff." The woman's smile didn't budge. "Oh, we already called the sheriff and the county water inspector. You'll be hearing from both." My stomach tightened, but I kept my voice steady. "Good, because the sheriff knows exactly who owns this place." For a moment, her face flickered, but then she pulled out her phone and started snapping photos of my dock, my cabin, even my truck. "Documenting violations," she muttered. I didn't like the way she said it, like she already had a plan to make my life miserable. The men packed up and left with her, leaving the sign crooked in the ground. I yanked it out and tossed it into the bed of my truck. As the sun set behind the lake, I had a bad feeling this wasn't just some nosy neighbor. She wasn't bluffing. An hour later, I heard tires crunching on the gravel again. When I stepped outside, two deputies were walking toward my porch, and one of them was already unhooking the holster on his belt.
The taller deputy rested his hand on the butt of his gun and spoke first. "Sir, we've had a report you're blocking public water access and refusing to follow HOA rules. Mind explaining what's going on?" I glanced at their cruiser. Its lights were still flashing, painting the cabin in red and blue. "First off," I said slowly, "this isn't public water. I bought this lake and the land around it 6 months ago. Second, there's no HOA here. Whoever called you is lying." The younger deputy looked uneasy. "Ma'am on the phone said she had papers, said you're trespassing on community property." I barked a short laugh. "She's the trespasser. I can show you the deed right now." The taller one shifted his stance, clearly not sure who to believe. "Go get it." I went inside and came back with a thick folder of county paperwork. The deputies scanned it under the porch light. The younger one's brow furrowed. "Looks legit," he murmured. Before the other could respond, the white SUV returned. Karen stepped out with her arms crossed and a clipboard in hand like she was leading an inspection. "There's no point looking at those papers," she said sharply. "This lake has been in the HOA's care for 30 years. He's just waving around old documents that don't count anymore." I stepped forward. "These aren't old. They're signed by the county clerk 2 months ago. I paid for the water rights and everything within the fenced perimeter." She ignored me and turned to the deputies. "He's been threatening us. He even ripped out our official sign." "That official sign was on my land," I shot back. The younger deputy raised a hand. "Okay, everybody take a breath. Nobody's getting arrested tonight. We'll need to confirm with the county records." Karen's eyes flashed. "You can't let him touch the water until that's settled. He's polluting it with his cheap dock work." I clenched my jaw. "Lady, that dock is safer than the rotted one your board left here for years." The deputies decided to leave it for the night, but as they drove off, Karen lingered near her SUV. She smiled at me across the dark driveway, that slow smile that said she wasn't finished. "You'll regret building anything here without our approval," she said softly before slipping into her car. I stood there watching her taillights disappear, my gut telling me this was just round one. The next morning, I woke up to find yellow tape stretched across the boat ramp and a notice stapled to my cabin door claiming the lake was under HOA investigation.
The notice flapped in the breeze like it owned the place. Big red letters across the top said cease all use of lake until further review. I ripped it down and crumpled it in my fist. Investigation my foot, I muttered. My neighbor, an older fisherman named Ray, was sitting on his tailgate by the water. He'd been the first to welcome me when I bought the property. He shook his head when he saw the paper in my hand. "Karen's at it again, huh? She pulled the same stunt with the last owner. Scared him off, too." I frowned. Scared him off how? Ray shrugged. "Back then, she said the lake violated environmental codes. Sent county inspectors here every other week till the guy gave up and sold cheap." That made my stomach drop. So that's her game. Run people off and grab the land. Before I could say more, 3 pickup trucks came rumbling down the gravel road, kicking up dust. They parked in a line along the shore. A group of men in HOA shirts jumped out with clipboards and orange stakes. One of them shouted, "We're surveying for erosion control. Stay clear of the shoreline." I stepped forward. "This is private property. Get off my land." Karen climbed out of the last truck, looking pleased with herself. "We have every right to inspect," she called out. "The board voted last night to freeze all lake activities. You're in violation." I held up the crumpled notice. "You can't freeze what you don't own." She raised an eyebrow. "We'll see about that. County inspector's coming today. If he finds even one environmental breach, they'll shut you down." Ray muttered under his breath, "She's bluffing. Or at least I hope she is." By noon, a white county truck pulled up and a man with a clipboard stepped out. Unlike the HOA crew, he wore a real badge on his vest. "Mr. Dawson?" he asked, scanning my dock and the water. "That's me," I replied. "I got a report about illegal dredging and possible chemical runoff. Mind if I take a look around?" Karen stood behind him with her arms folded, smirking like she'd already won. "Go ahead," I said calmly, though my heart was pounding. As the inspector walked the shoreline, I noticed Karen whispering to one of her men, who was unloading something from the back of a truck, 2 cloudy plastic jugs with faded labels. Something about the way they handled those jugs made my pulse quicken. I had a bad feeling whatever they were carrying wasn't supposed to be anywhere near my water.
I didn't take my eyes off those jugs. "Hey, what are you doing with that?" I shouted, stepping off the porch. Karen's man froze mid-step. "Just sampling water," he said quickly. The inspector looked over his shoulder. "You don't need your own samples. That's my job." But I'd already reached them and saw the seal on one of the caps was broken. The liquid inside wasn't lake water. It was dark and sludgy. I grabbed the jug from his hand. "This isn't from the lake. Where'd you get it?" Karen strode over, her smile slipping. "Put that down. That's evidence." "Evidence of what? That you were about to dump this in my water?" I snapped. The inspector's face hardened. "Ma'am, did you bring foreign material onto this site?" Karen waved her hand dismissively. "It's harmless. Just wanted to show how bad his water already is." "Then why was the seal broken?" he pressed. She didn't answer. Ray stepped closer. "I saw them pull that stuff out of the truck. They never went near the lake till now." The inspector radioed something back to his office, then turned to me. "Sir, don't touch anything else. I'll need to collect this as potential evidence." Karen's face turned red. "You can't take that. It's ours." "Yes, ma'am, and now it's being logged for possible contamination attempt." Her crew began to shuffle back toward their trucks, mumbling. I crossed my arms. "Looks like your inspection just backfired." Karen glared at me. "You think this proves anything? The board isn't done with you." But when the inspector asked her to stay for further questioning, she climbed into her SUV and slammed the door. 2 hours later, the inspector wrapped up his report. "Your dock's fine, water's clean. I'm submitting these findings to the county. No violations on your end. and I'll be recommending a closer look at the HOA's actions today. For the first time in days, I felt my shoulders relax. "Thank you," I said quietly. That evening, the sheriff himself showed up after hearing the inspector's call. He knew me from my years as a volunteer search and rescue diver. "Tom," he said, clapping my shoulder, "I figured something like this was coming. We'll keep an eye on them. If they set one more foot here without your say-so, we'll handle it." Out on the lake, the sunset turned the water gold. The crooked HOA sign I'd yanked out earlier was gone, replaced with the clean wooden marker I'd built myself. Dawson Lake, private property. Ray came over carrying 2 fishing rods. "Mind if I cast a line? Looks like the lake's safe again." I smiled for the first time all week. "Grab a chair. This lake isn't going anywhere." But as I sat by the water, I noticed Karen's SUV parked far down the road, engine running, headlights off. She stayed there for a long time, just watching. I knew this fight was far from over, but for now, the lake was mine, and the whole county finally knew it.